Hi, American Literature students. So I wanted to go ahead and go over your student debt constructed response, what you guys are going to be doing. It is going to be a quiz grade, so I want to make sure I'm really clear on what you need to do. So the question is, which author's style and content most effectively supports his or her purpose? So I want to talk with you guys quickly about the two passages. So first of all, if you guys noticed, the first passage, both of the passages go over student debt, right, and how student debt affects graduates. However, the first passage uses a lot of facts and statistics. We talked in class about how it talks about how much tuition has ballooned. It talks about, the fact that student debt has increased 300%. So the first passage goes over a lot of facts and statistics to prove their argument that student debt is, kind of negatively impacting college graduates. The second passage really it focuses, the evidence it has focuses more on like personal stories and kind of putting yourself in the shoes of the students who they give these examples. Now, we talked in class about how students' names provided in this text are fictitious, so their stories are meant to only illustrate common problems faced by recent graduates. So again, that shows that these stories aren't even of real people, right? They're stories of kind of typical students who accumulate a lot of debt and sort of what can happen to them. So we talked in class about how Rogers is basically working as a server, and he feels like he's never going to be able in a position to have a family or buy a house. So he feels like his future is in jeopardy because of the fact that he has all this debt. Chloe Peterson talks about how she has to move back in with her parents because of the fact that she can't afford her student loan payment as well as rent. So again, the second author sort of he or she uses personal examples that really shows you what it's like to almost like walk around in somebody's shoes, okay, who has that debt. So I want you guys to think through sort of which one of these do you think is more effective, right? Do you feel like facts and statistics and sort of going over the numbers is more effective, and why would that be? And then, or do you feel like, having those stories of being put in somebody's shoes, that's a more effective way of getting their point across? Because basically, both of the authors have very similar points, but they have a very different evidence and very different style for achieving that. So what I want to talk to you guys about is sort of the how you're being graded on this, because this is a quiz grade. So it's really important that you do well on it. For full credit, you need to clearly answer the question and explain your answer. And I'm going to kind of talk about what that needs to look like, because it's a little bit more than usual. You'll cite evidence from both passages, okay? So at least 3 quotes or paraphrases, and then you're going to clearly summarize each piece of evidence and then tell what it proves about your argument. You're going to have 2 sentences of explanation for each example, okay? When you're citing, make sure that you put passage 1 or 2. So here's how the points break down, and this is not your first quiz grade. I know you've had several quiz grades, but here's how the points break down. Clearly answering the question is worth 2 points, and here's how those 2 points break down. You need to have one sentence that states which passage is more effective and why, okay? So whether you think passage 1 is more effective or passage 2 is more effective, you need to explain very clearly why you think that, okay? You need to explain why facts are better or more persuasive, or why personal stories are more persuasive, okay? And then you're going to have a sentence stating which passage is not effective and why, okay? So if again, it's the reverse, right? If you don't think that personal stories are as effective, explain why. Or if you don't think that facts and numbers are as persuasive, explain why you think that. So that's why it's 2 points, because you need to have 2 sentences, one sentence stating which one's more effective, one sentence stating which one is not effective. And then basically here's how the points break down from there. Your 3 pieces of evidence is going to be worth 3 points. So do you quote from both passages, right? If you just include information from one passage, you're not going to get full credit there. So do you include information from both passages? And do you sort of follow the format that I give you, which is what I would do is put like 2 quotes from your effective passages, right? So whatever passage you think is the most effective, I would find 2 pieces of evidence from that, and then I would have 1 piece of evidence from the passage that's not effective, and then you're going to be explaining why it's not effective. For the analysis, make sure that you clearly explain what each quote proves. And basically what you're going to be doing is you'll have 1 sentence summarizing the evidence. So what does it show? What does that specific piece of evidence show about how student debt affects college graduates? Okay, so you're kind of summing it up, explaining it, and then you're going to have a sentence explaining about the style, why it's persuasive, okay, why it's a better sort of example, right, or stated in a way that's better than maybe the other passage. So make sure you have 2 sentences of analysis. Half of your points, again, it's out of 12 points, and half of your points come from your analysis. So you need to clearly explain, summarize the evidence. How does the evidence show how college debt affects graduates? And then why is it so persuasive? So that's where you get the full points there. And then you're going to have a quote from the passage that's not as effective, right? And then you'll have the same thing, but you're going to explain why it's not effective, okay? Like why that style is not as persuasive as the other passage was. And be really specific in your responses. Also make sure that you cite the evidence correctly. Notice that it doesn't matter if you tell me what paragraph it's from, but you do need to tell me what passage it's from. So passage 1 or passage 2, make sure that you're clear there, okay? I noticed on the Outcast of Poker Flat constructed response that, those responses weren't maybe as strong as I would like to see. So that's why I'm making this a quiz grade. I want it to be like your best constructed response ever. So make sure that you look over these instructions, okay? And again, the question is, which author's style and content most effectively supports his or her purpose? So you should be talking about style and content. Those are sort of your key words. And maybe drawing in what is their purpose? What are they trying to sort of get across to you? But really focusing on which style and content is most persuasive and why, okay? So hopefully that makes sense what you're supposed to do. I apologize, it took me a little while to get this video posted. I had some technical difficulties, so I just created a new one. But you guys will complete that. You will turn that in by Thursday at the latest, and then you all will also be completing an essay, an informative essay on these 2 passages as well. So make sure that you're really understanding these passages, and I will talk to you guys a little bit more later about that informative paper and how I want you to structure it and what to do for that. Okay? Take care of yourselves. I will see you guys later. All right, thanks.